Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Manchester Explorer. And right now I'm on the west side of Manchester on Rimmon Street, and I felt like making a quick video of the Rimmon Heights area, as there's a very pretty area of the city down this road and to the left, which we're going to check out. But we're going to start here, as there's a couple old houses here that are still in mostly original condition, and this is one of them. Most of these houses around here in this area were built around 1900, possibly the late 1800s. But as you can see, there's a beautiful carriage house there, as well as the house, which is for the most part original on the exterior. And for those of you that are new to this channel or haven't really followed me yet, I like to explore this city, and I like to look for pre-1940s architecture that's still in original condition or close to original condition, as I'd wager 90% of those old houses are now covered in vinyl siding or various synthetic sidings, as the details of these houses are long gone. So I try to document as many of them as possible before they get vinyl sided. This one here is wooden, but it's been remodeled. You know, it's got wooden clapboards and trim, but it is not original. I can just tell by looking at it. And there's the house that we started this video at. And we're gonna head towards the Rimmon Heights area, which is pretty much where I am, but there's an area down this road which would have been like really high-end apartments back in the day. And we're gonna go check that out. Most of these side streets here, these are all built like after the 50s, around the 50s, 60s, and 70s. These are all your typical ranches and Cape style homes, which is not what this channel focuses on. While I'm here, I'll get a shot of Rock Rimmon, although the sun is right in our face, so we're probably not gonna see it that well. And that is Rock Rimmon, and I made a video of that cliffside about, I think it was last weekend, so feel free to check it out. It is kind of rush hour, so there's going to be a lot of traffic, so just bear with me. Not a ton of traffic, as this is kind of a residential area, but the way people drive nowadays, I got to be very cautious. And this is one of the neatest areas in the city, in my opinion. It's a very small corner of the city, but it's kept up, it's clean. You know, there's low crime here. There's a nice community here, that's the best way to put it. And right here is Montgomery Street, which is a very popular street that people cut across from Goffstown Back Road. And it does get fairly busy. We're not going to go up Montgomery Street, but I'll give you a taste of it, as these are all semi-modern houses, but it's still very pretty. Very nice area. But we're going to take a left here, and you're going to start seeing the older buildings, which are, most of these were built between 1900 and I'll say 1920. I haven't looked it up, but I'm fairly certain. And you're going to hear me talk about vinyl siding quite a bit, such as this building, which you can tell was once a nice building, and it's vinyl sided. And we'll take a quick left here. A lot of these neighborhoods were built prior to the automobile, which is one of the reasons why this little area is neat. A lot of the alleyways they have corners in them and curbs, and they're intertwined. It's kind of like a maze in this area. It's a neat area to walk around. It's very tranquil. It has a great vibe to it. I'll often walk my little chihuahua in this area, at least 3 nights a week. And we'll take a right down one of the alleyways. We're gonna spin around actually, because I want to get a different angle of that one, which wasn't my my intention is to go the other way. So we're gonna go down down here, and then we're gonna take a right on Coolidge Ave. There's 3 bungalow style houses here. 2 of them have been vinyl sided, such as this one and this one. But this one is still wooden, which you can see the details. It's a beautiful building. You know, could you imagine that being vinyl sided? It would just totally destroy the look of this house. All it takes is a certain owner to buy it that's, you know, gets sick of painting it, and they just wrap all the trim in tin, and then it's vinyl sided, such as these 2 right here. These were once nice homes as well. Now they just kind of look like plastic Tupperware. Still nice houses, don't get me wrong. I'm not insulting the owners. I also wanted to throw this in real quick. This has been on my mind, and I'm finally getting to it. But to my left right here, there's a modern development that's been built over the past 1.5 years or so. And ironically, I used to have a painting business. I used to be a good painter. I still am. I just got tired of it. But I did get called to quote on one of these houses. And I didn't even give the guy a quote because the job was just, it was so unorganized that for me to go in there and paint, it would have been an absolute nightmare. But this used to be an estate for a doctor or a dentist. As you can see, the entryway had these 2 granite, what do they call it? Let's just call them columns. There's one there and one there. And there used to be, I believe, tennis racket courts here and all kinds of stuff here. This was kind of an estate. And that brick building is where the doctor used to live. I believe he was a doctor. And I think his last name was Dupree. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because I'm not sure. But that was his house, and it's going to be getting demolished very soon. That's what the builder said when I came here and quoted on. I believe it was this house, this one or that one that I quoted on. I wanted nothing to do with it. Nothing was primed, like none of the drywall was primed yet. All the finished trim, the doors were already installed, and there was guys like installing floor already, so it would have been a nightmare for me to go in there and paint. And he was wondering why he couldn't keep a painter for more than one project, because there's a system to painting and he breaks the system, let's put it that way. I was going to offer him an absurd amount of money to paint it, but he would have just said no anyway. But anyway, let's head back to the Rimmon Heights area. These line of apartment buildings are what I'm going to be getting to in a moment, but we'll check this road out first, as I want to loop around first and check out the alley. But this is a beautiful neighborhood right here as well. Very pretty area though. You know, there's still large trees here. And one thing you don't see are any power lines, which is kind of strange, as they're all set in the alleys instead of the main roads. So it makes the place look a lot better. Let this car pass real quick. I want to show you guys something really quick. In case you ever wonder why some of these houses have columns in the front. This isn't the house. I'm being an idiot. But directly in front of me is a good example of it. See how these houses have columns and a roof above them? Originally they were porches, and they removed the porches and put these support columns in place. And a lot of people don't realize that. Like that used to have a porch in the front, a second floor porch, and so did that red house. So instead of rebuilding the porch, they opted to just destroy them and put up columns instead. Pretty buildings though, even though they're all vinyled. There's a prime example right there of the columns. What's happening is investment companies are slowly buying these properties up, and they're not putting the right type of money into them. They don't care, they just want rent. So eventually even this neighborhood is going to be going downhill. I give it another 20 years tops. We're going to take a left on Rimmon Street. And we're going to fly down one of these alleys. And this convenience store right here, TMC convenience store, is pretty cool. It's like an old school store. It's jam-packed with stuff. It really is. And there's the pink house. I remember that from even, you know, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, because it's the only pink building around and it kind of stands out. It's always been pink as far as I know. It's not the original clapboards, as it's got asbestos siding. That's a massive building though. And as I was saying earlier, these alleyways are just neat how they're all intertwined. You know, there's one there, and it keeps going this way, as this area was built before the automobile. And you can often see the age of these buildings by looking at the carriage houses, as these doors are original minus the plywood that's been attached to the bottom. That's a weird building right there. It looks like a motel, you know what I mean? But right here, that's an old wrought iron fence from the early 1900s. You don't see this very often, but these used to be everywhere. So it's kind of neat to see that. But anyway, let's check out these old tenant buildings. These are some of the nicest tenant buildings throughout the city. There's some nice ones on the north end as well, but as far as the west side, I believe these are the nicest. These are the premier tenant buildings of the day. And they've all been vinyl sided, which is a shame. Most of them anyway. There's a few of them that are still clapboard. I actually want to check out this apartment building first to show you guys this one. This one really intrigues me for some reason. I'm gonna have to look it up, see if I can find any interior pictures. But that's an impressive building right there. It really is. Try to picture that when it was original, with all the original trim and siding. That was a beautiful building. It really was. It still is in a sense, but the charm is lost. And notice how clean the alleyways are here. If I bike just one block like behind me, it gets slummy really quick. That's the best way to explain it. That's a gorgeous building, even though it's been vinyled. Can you imagine what that used to look like? The other thing you'll notice is all these buildings, they're all high and dry. They're built up on dirt mounds to shed the water so it doesn't get into basements. They were built very well. They had granite foundations, and as you can see, there was brick laid on top of the granite to level out the foundation. You'll often see the brick covered in plaster. They dressed it up for some reason. It's very French around here. French Canadians like to make things fancy back in the day. What's going on with this property?
This property?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Thing got fixed up.
It's gonna get fixed up? Nice.
Yeah.
How's the inside? Is it like a time capsule? Is it old?
That's an older building.
Yeah. So I have a YouTube channel. I go around and I like old architecture.
Yeah.
This is one of the few ones around here that's not vinyl sided.
What's your YouTube channel?
Manchester Explorer.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll check it out.
So this one's probably going to get vinyl, is my guess. It needs a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll have to see.
Yeah, it does.
Here right now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though. It's cool to see it.
Yeah, the old French Canadians built.
Yeah, it was all French Canadian. I was just mentioning that. That's why everything's kind of fancy around here.
Yeah, they did some nice little things, you know, little
yep.
workmanship.
Yep,
yeah.
yep. You
but
see it.
Nothing's like perfect, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, they did by a die. They didn't have like many tools, so.
No, it was. They were all crafted. Everyone's a little different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yep. Very cool.
Yep.
Do you own the property or?
I'm not at the moment liberty to say who owns it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but there's things being worked out.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Well, good luck with it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of funny that I was mentioning the French Canadians, how they used to build everything very well back then. And we're gonna take a right here and check out the front of these buildings. You know, like everything, all the stonework, it's everywhere. These used to be such beautiful buildings. And it's a shame that, you know, buildings aren't built like this anymore. You know, like the building in front of me is your modern building. It's just a box. It looks like a piece of plastic, you know what I mean? Not to insult the home, but that's what they are. As I was saying about the concrete foundation, see how they laid concrete across the brick and they kind of formed it and stamped it. French Canadians, that's what they do. Beautiful buildings though, they really are. And it's just a shame that, you know, they weren't restored correctly along the way, which I understand because it costs a lot of money to hire craftsmen to do things correctly. It's funny, all the houses on the left side of this road are all fairly modern. As my guess is, all these trees weren't here 100 years ago, and all these buildings on the right offered a view of the city. That's why there was probably no old buildings on the left side. That's a gorgeous tree, it really is. That thing's perfect. Yeah, it would have been cool if they kept up with the stain and all the painting on these buildings. This would be like a historic area. It really would. Oh, I missed the house that I wanted to check out, I think. Beautiful porches as well. This one still has all the original spindles on it. Absolutely beautiful. And you gotta like kind of factor in that originally, like the landlords used to reside on the first floor of many of these tenant buildings. And in back of the day, they often rented to family and friends, or, you know, or mill workers or local people, as they weren't charging like top dollar for rent. So they really weren't making much money back then. The old landlords were just looking to basically pay their taxes and get some free groceries, you know what I mean? That's why they were renting out. But now it's all, you know, they didn't have money, so they didn't have money to repaint these places every 10 to 15 years. And also due to the banning of lead paint, it became extremely expensive to repaint these buildings. And that's why a lot of them are vinyl sided now. This one's absolutely gorgeous. Look at that carport. I would have loved to see this thing like 80 years ago. Look at that porch. Gorgeous. What a neat building. This one, the siding's been vinyled, but the trim is still present, most of it, and it's obviously not really taken care of that well as the porch is collapsing. Like I said, all these slumlords are slowly buying these places up. This one still has a slate roof on it. That's an original roof from like 1910, whenever this place was built. It's got some cast iron lions along the entryway there. Really cool. And this here is a funeral home. Beautiful building. Again, it's been vinyl sided and most of the trim has been wrapped in 10, unfortunately. But the porch spindles are still original. And the turret is all wood, which is original. The turret is that rounded area on the corner of the building, and I'll spin around and give you guys a good shot of it. But as you can see, that this used to be a very detailed building just by looking at that turret. Very impressive. And there's the pink house again. And I'm going to take a left here as there's an old house that hasn't been vinyl sided yet. There's a couple of them actually. Yeah, we'll get to that house on the corner in a moment. And like I said, as soon as I got like a block behind me, everything starts to go downhill quickly. Don't get me wrong, this is still a decent area to live, but as you can see, you're gonna start seeing litter and unkempt properties as soon as you cross the street. But this house here is still clapboard. It's got a beautiful porch in the front. Needs a paint job, and hopefully it does get painted. And there's also a three-story tenant building over here that is still painted. It's the only one other than that little white one directly in front of me. Now try to imagine this whole road used to look like this building right here. That's a gorgeous tenant building. It really is. And we'll spin around and get a good shot of it. Beautiful building. Look at that third floor porch. The second floor has been demolished and redone poorly. Look at the stairway. The porches aren't original. The railings aren't anyway, or the spindles, but beautiful building. I'd wager that this one right here used to look just like it, as well as the one next to it. That's a crazy blue. Looks like 1960s colors or 50s. That asbestos siding is very ugly, but it lasts forever and it holds paint. It's actually a great product. It's just very ugly. Now let's check out these three beautiful buildings here. These are all businesses now, but at one time these were probably houses. I'm not 100% positive as I wasn't around, you know, in 1900. Very French Canadian, just like that man was saying. Then we'll go across the street to get a better angle of it. Even this house across the street was once a gorgeous house. It's got synthetic siding on it now. But you can tell that was a looker back in the day. Still a nice house. It's rush hour. Everyone's coming home from work. Let's check these out. Gorgeous building. It really is. And this one right next to it, at one time in its life, was probably dressed up like this one, but it's been, you know, all the details are gone and hidden. A lot of them are just torn off and long. It's just past. It's gone to the past. That's the best way to explain it. This one's been vinyled, obviously, but it still looks good. Now we're on Cartier Street. Cartier Street. Cartier. That's how you say it in French, I believe. This is a line of beautiful buildings as well, or they used to be. See, that one's still painted. So as you can imagine, this is what they all used to look like. Pretty neat, isn't it? That's a gorgeous tenant building as well, the one directly in front of me. Again, it's been vinyled, you know, it's been ruined. It drives me nuts. It's unfortunate, but this country revolves around greed nowadays. It really does. Nobody cares about anything except money. Make as much money as possible and don't put money into the building. A lot of these slumlords, they own multiple tenant buildings. You know, they probably have $1 million homes in Pelham. That's all they care about. That was a very detailed building at one point. And trust me, these landlords can afford to keep these properties up. They just don't care. The guy I rent from, I think he owns like 4 or 5 of them. Trust me, he makes money. They'll often say, I don't make enough money. I'm like, dude, you make a lot of money. As you notice, they're all high and dry. They used to have, they still kind of have beautiful stonework in the front. But as you can see, everything's starting to go south really quick, because nothing's kept up. It's all about money. Greedy people. I made a video about this area on Amory Street. There used to be a line of stores here. There used to be a store here. There's a beautiful Queen Victorian right there. I've already made a video on it, so check it out. Yeah, which way do we want to go? Kind of wanted to go the other way. There's an old carriage house here also. I've already videoed it, but just to get you new viewers interested in my channel, this is one of the coolest carriage houses within the city. It's 100% original. It probably hasn't been painted in 50 years by looking at it, but the old growth wood was much better than what's being used today. It doesn't rot out as quickly. Actually, I don't want to go down this road. I'm going to take a right again and take a left down either Rimmon or Dubuque Street. Or just take one of the alleys, actually. That's what I'll take. Just to show you guys the difference between these alleys and the ones that I just showed you down the road right there. It's really a night and day difference. And all this grossness is slowly creeping to that nice area. Like I said, give it another 20 years. As I grew up in this place from 1976 to 86 in this pretty much this very neighborhood. Don't get me wrong, this has always been a working class area, but people had pride and they kept up their buildings for the most part. And I witnessed the very tail end of it, as by the 90s everything started to really go downhill due to all these slumlords. Cool Volkswagen Caddy. Those are neat. You know, but unfortunately this area, it's lost. It's going to continue to go downhill. A lot of these buildings, they're going to start coming down in the next, 20 to 50 years. So a lot of these won't even be here. That's a beautiful building right here as well, or it used to be. You can tell by the features on it. There's a couple up here I want to check out also. This large tenant building to my left, this green one this was a looker back in the day. You can tell by the porch. You can still see the original railings and spindles. big building, but it used to be beautiful. That one's still painted. It's in a dire need of a paint job, but it's still there. Look at that entryway. This used to be a gorgeous building. You can still see some of the details in the entryway, as well as the dental work up on the soffit up there. But the rest of it is long gone. The thing with vinyl is it makes these neighborhoods look run down. Like if these neighborhoods would have been kept up and painted and kept up properly, this would still be a nice area. There wouldn't be hardly as much as crime. There wouldn't be as much crime here. You know, when you get a dumpy area, I mean, I hate to say it, but you're not going to get the best people moving into the area. I mean, that's just common sense, unfortunately. As much as I hate saying that. Not that I'm perfect. I am far from perfect, believe me. Far from it. And right here, there used to be a convenience store named Saindon's. This used to be an anchor of the community. This place used to always be busy when I was a kid. I have a video of it if you look it up on my channel. It's called Saindon's, S-A-I-N-D-O-N-S. But I have a really cool video of footage of the inside of it when it was operating as a store. But obviously now it's a Domino's, so that's changed quite a bit. This area right here was literally my stomping grounds from age 1 to about 10 years old. As I was always riding bikes around here, and I still am to this very day. But I recall this little red ranch style home here. The yard used to be manicured. You could eat off it. I recall being a kid and walking on this little stone wall, and the homeowner would come out and just yell at us, "Get off the frickin' wall!" Probably in French. Same with this yard. It used to be very manicured. As you can see, somebody put a lot of time into building all these stone structures. There used to be a Virgin Mary in that little structure right there. You can still see hints of what this area used to be. It's kind of sad. It's very sad, actually. And I experienced the very tail end of, you know, when this area used to be decent. And that white building directly in front of me that's been for sale for almost 2 years was my grandparents' tenant building. I grew up on the second floor. And we'll spin around here. There's not much to see down here. And that third floor porch was not there when I was a kid. They added the third floor apartment later on after they sold it, as that used to just be in an attic for storage. But the area is just, it's disgusting now. It really is. Look at all that. It wasn't like that when I was a kid, I can guarantee you that. There's just garbage everywhere. Oh, this one's getting the porch. Oh, it looks like they're rebuilding it. I recall there was an old couple that used to live on the first floor that owned this building. They used to keep it up very nice. It's a little different now. It's getting very slummy around here, and Manchester's getting old. I mean, it just is. And it's not going to get better unless something drastic happens. The only way it'll get better is if the mayor or whoever's in charge, gets onto the slumlords and makes them fix their properties up, or they'll face heavy fines. You got to threaten them, otherwise they're not going to do anything. They don't care. All they care about is money. To buy more stuff. You know what I mean? People are addicted to buying stuff. And in the meantime, all these neighborhoods are just going to hell. Just litter everywhere. People are so lazy. It drives me nuts. Right now I'm heading down Dubuque Street. There's a really unique building here. I'm trying to find it. I walked my dog one night and I'm trying to recall where it was. It may have been up here and then I take a right if I recall. Yeah, Rimmon Street. There it is. This building is so out of place. I can only imagine what this used to look like back in the day. This yellow building here. It's got a turret on it. It's a Queen Victorian. So it's probably late 1800s is my guess. But try to picture what that building used to look like. Kind of sad. That was a very fancy building. I can only imagine what that used to look like. Crazy. This one's got the asphalt shingles on it still. That's kind of funny. So I mean, like, look at the yards here. You know, you can tell somebody at one point took care of this with the stonework and whatnot. Now it's just a weed bed. It's very sad. It really is. People are definitely rolling in their graves. You know, in the city a little while ago tried to, you know, they're attempting to clean this place up. They put up these nice lampposts and whatnot that you're seeing on these tall black lampposts. The problem is the landlords don't give a hell. They don't give a damn, so it's pointless for the city to even try. That's a gorgeous building right there too. That one's actually still painted. Amazing. It's in desperate need of a paint job and it's likely not going to get one. That would cost a small fortune to have painted. So it's going to get vinyled, unfortunately. Yeah, as I was saying, the city needs to start imposing heavy fines against these landlords, as the only thing they care about is money. So if they're losing money, they're gonna fix the places up. When I say heavy fines, I mean not like $200, I mean like $5,000 for not keeping up your property. You know, and charge them every 3 months. Who cares? They have the money to fix these places up. They really do. And I get that not every landlord owns like multiple properties. Not all of them are wealthy or have a lot of money, but many of them do, and they can afford to fix these places up. Those are neat buildings, those two right there. Even though these buildings are old, you know, a lot of the interiors, you'd be very surprised at what they look like. They're very big. They're big apartments. They're equivalent of like a ranch house. And I'd rather live in one of these tenant buildings than any of these modern apartment complexes where every apartment's the same. You know, you're walking down a hallway, it feels like you're in a hotel room. I would never live in one of those. You're living with like hundreds of people in one building. Not for me. And right now we're on Barber Street. We'll check out one more alley. And one more road, and I'll probably stop this video. And as you can see, children still ride bikes. Not as much as they used to, but you'll see kids out here. And directly in front of me, that little gray building that's now abandoned. That used to be a barbershop. I've had my hair cut many times there as a kid. It was called Jackie's Barbershop. It's now a derelict building, and that was a happening place back in the day. It used to be busy. Just, you know, 40 years ago, which really isn't that long ago, really. Then we'll take a right on Heavey Street. This road's not bad, it's clean, fairly clean. Like I said, as soon as you get to Bremer Street, it cleans up. But as soon as you cross Bremer Street, it just goes downhill real quick. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little quick video of part of the Rimmon Heights area on the west side of Manchester. Please like and subscribe, as I really appreciate it, and have a good night.